Be the change you want to see in the world. Those are the famous words of Gandhi, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Allan, and today I'm going to tell you about making a change. Right now we live in one of the most unequal periods in the history of the world. If you look at the graph over here, you can see that in some countries like the US, the top 10% of households earn up to 18 times more than the bottom 10% do. In some countries that's a little bit lower, like in Sweden, that's 5.8. And perhaps you're wondering what it is in Denmark. In Denmark in 2012, that figure was at 5.2%. In case you're wondering what that figure is on the right-hand side, well, that's Mexico, that's 30 times more. So what we see here in these graphs is that this is actually a figure that's increasing over time. And yes, I know that there are a lot of channels like Verdens Bedste Nyheder that will tell you that poverty is decreasing over the last 10 years, which is true. But what they don't tell you is the fact that the gap between rich and poor has never been as big as it is today. So a few months ago, I was quite fed up with this statistic, and along with this tall fella on my right, I decided to start an NGO. This is not a sales pitch. If you want to support us, you can do that. This is simply a way of showing you that it can be done if you want to make a change. The story begins a few months ago, with a call from my friend Lars Ulrik, who called me up and asked me if I wanted to help him start an NGO. He'd been to Tanzania a few months ago, and he fell in love with the country, and he wanted to make a change. So I naturally jumped on the project because my father is Kenyan and my mother is Danish, and I've grown up in Kenya. So it was something that was very close to my heart from the start. One of the key challenges initially was figuring out a way of getting down to Tanzania so we could become better at understanding the challenges that we were working with. So what we did was we applied for a grant from the Danish Foreign Ministry called Verdens Bedste Nyheder, which basically grants a few lucky students every year 50,000 kroner to go and shoot a movie. Surprisingly enough, we won this grant, despite the fact that we wrote the entry the day before. And along with 9 other projects, we went to Tanzania, and the others went to different parts of the world. The tribe that you see here is the film that we made is centered around them. They're the Maasai tribe of about 1.8 million people. You might know them from songs and dance and film. You've probably seen them in a lot of commercials. But unfortunately, they are some of the poorest people in Africa and some of the most excluded, which is very unfortunate. And at this point, I should also add that neither Lars Ulrik or myself had any experience with filmmaking whatsoever. So we basically jumped on a plane and made a movie and had absolutely no idea how to do it. So what happened next was we went down to Tanzania in July, and we decided to try and combine making a movie with trying to help out in these areas that we went to. And we ended up living with the Maasai for about 2 weeks, where we had very poor access to the amenities that we're used to here in Denmark. But it was also a very mind-blowing experience, a very humbling experience. And at the same time, we decided that out of the 50,000 kroner that we had a grant to travel with, that we donate 20,000 to the building of a school in the north of Tanzania. As you can see here, this is the school being built. And it costs about 49,000 to build. We donated, as I said before, 20,000. But what surprised me the most was the amount of help that came in from different corporate partners and people all around the world who, as far out as Australia, donated to our cause. And it was, I think for me, the most humbling thing was I never imagined that this would actually be possible. But it just goes to show that with a little bit of initiative and effort, you can actually make a difference. Which is essentially the message that I came here to talk to you about today. If you want to, everybody in this room is capable of making a difference, being the change that you want to see in the world. If you think that there's something wrong with it, or if you want to improve it, you can do that. You can also enjoy yourself a tremendous amount doing so, engaging in different cultural encounters with cultures that you never imagined that you'd be engaging with. You should also challenge yourself, and you should challenge the status quo. I know that we have a government that right now is cutting a lot of money for aid projects. It's also a government that's saying that we don't have space for refugees in this country. I think if you disagree with that, like I do, then you can very easily, as I've shown here, do something about it. Thank you.